I think the government are deliberately messing with property owners right now, and it is really ticking me off. They're announcing things, scaring everybody, then unannouncing things, dropping in legislation without properly talking about it, being hard to know what the rules are, but then if you break the rules, literally can send you to prison. So I wanted to give you a little condensed update as to some of the new legislations in the property market, because if you're buying properties right now and you don't know the laws and the legislations, then beware, because you can they'll fine you or they'll literally take you to prison. Let me tell you something. They changed the rules, or announced recently that they were going to change the rules with energy performance certificates. Let me explain. I'm gonna give you context to this and tell you what they said they were gonna do, and then tell you what they actually did, okay? So they said that from 2025, every house in England that was rented out had to be energy performance certificate of a C or above. Is it above or is it below? Below. A, B, or C, right? So in other words, every house has to be insulated, double, triple glazed, maybe solar panels, really energy. And it's this whole, they're saying everyone needs to drive an electric car. Everyone needs. So a lot of landlords got really cheesed off with this and decided, forget that, I'm selling. So loads of people put the house up for sale. And because loads of people put the house up for sale, all these landlords and these irritated landlords put the house up for sale, then that brought the property prices down, because it's basic supply and demand. If there's a lot of houses on for sale, then there's a lot of properties to pick from, so houses drop. So that was one of the things that caused houses to drop this year. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It depends on whether you were buying or whether you were selling. I was buying, so for me, you could argue it's a good thing. But let me tell you something really interesting. They then said, actually, we're going to bring this rule in, not in 2025. We're going to bring it in 2028 to give people time to prepare, to give people time to do the changes to their houses that they have to do by law. So some landlords are selling, some landlords are changing the house and spending money on it. Well, guess what? They just announced 48 hours ago, actually, we're not going to bring it in at all. You know what? Yeah, we're not going to make you change your EPC to C anymore. It's fine. Leave it as it is. Which is like, now has infuriated a load of landlords, because they just sold the house and they said, I wouldn't have sold the property if I'd known you weren't going to bring it in. Did they know all along they were not going to bring it in? Probably. Same with electric cars. They said that they were going to, I think it was 2030, they weren't going to allow any of the manufacturers to build petrol or diesel cars. And now they just went, oh, actually, it's 3035. Guaranteed they'll say, but before 3035, oh, actually, it's never. They just want everybody to buy an electric car and think, oh, I'm going to be forced to anyway, I may as well. Oh, I'm going to be forced to get solar panels, and I'm going to be forced to get my EPC down to a C anyway, I may as well do it. And then they got, but they know there's a group of people that just won't do it anyway. So it's just really, really, really annoying. And from my perspective, as I say, it's not personally, it's not hit me. Do I think it's a good thing that they've scrapped it? Probably. I don't think they should have ever announced it in the first place. I don't know what's going to happen, but so how does this affect you? Well, it's just like it always was. If it's an E or below, i.e. A, B, C, D, E, you're fine. If it's an F or a G, then you can't rent it out. But that's always been the case, because Fs and Gs are not going to be, habitable properties anyway. So the EPC thing, that's what's going on. Government's agenda, crazy, absolutely mind-boggling that they're just messing like a emotional roller coaster with landlords. Next thing I want to talk about, this as well. This is really important. I want to talk about prison. One of the things that does scare me is a lot of the rules that they are bringing in / proposing to bring in. The penalty of not complying is prison, which to me seems crazy. Like when they said they were going to change the EPC rules, do you know what the consequence of not getting your EPC uprated was going to be? Prison. That to me just seems really extreme. There's another thing they have just announced they're going to bring in as from next month, and this affects me directly. Do I think it's a good thing or a bad thing? I could argue both ways, but they're bringing in as from next month in October 2023 in this country. They're saying that if you have a holiday let or an Airbnb property, you cannot rent it out without fire doors and smoke alarms. Now, again, I don't think this is a terrible thing. Are they actually going to bring it in? I guess until law comes in, we just don't know. But I think they probably will. As it happens, I don't think this is necessarily a super bad thing. I'll argue both ways. I think that it is going to be, let's start with the bad. The bad is obvious. It's just going to be an extra expense to landlords or people that control properties that are running them as short stay lets. It's an extra expense. Fire doors. How much is a fire door? Like £90. You've not got to go get the whole house fire doors. You've just got to get fire doors on the bedrooms and on the and where they would be exiting. So like exit routes. So, you know, it's probably going to cost at least a few £100s, depending on the property that you've got, to get fire doors, also the alarms. I mean, as it happens, most of my properties that I have, I run with fire doors anyway, because I think they're better doors, they're sturdier doors, and it makes sense. All of my HMOs are fire doors, of course. So they're bringing that in. I mean, the only good I can think of is that it slightly brings a higher barrier to entry to the market with people wanting to do Airbnb. Because Airbnb is just, for the last few years, it's literally just been, you can rent anything on Airbnb. If you've got a shed in the garden, you can just stick it on Airbnb. Now, a big part of my market is renting properties out as short stay lets. Not just Airbnb, but also Booking.com and many other online travel agents. So the fact that they've slightly legislated this industry means there's probably going to be a lot of cowboy competition, a lot of people that would be doing would be in the business but probably not running the business properly, that will maybe drop out. Or there's going to be a lot of people that were thinking of, shall I put my spare room on Airbnb? And then they're like, oh, there's legislation, I don't really understand it. Oh, what kind of alarms do I need? Oh, you know what, forget it. Which means that then, going back to supply and demand, it's going to mean that my properties are more booked. So I guess that's the positive. Negative is you know, legislation's always, practically, it just means a little bit of extra time and money. They're also saying you're going to have to pack test things in the kitchen. So if you've got like microwaves and kettles, they'll need to be pack tested. Again, it doesn't cost a lot of money. I think you might be talking 20, 30 pounds, you know, for a pack test, but it's just a little bit more hassle, which again, for me, as a business owner who's seriously about running my business, it's not really a big deal. But to the person that's thinking, should I just stick my spare room on Airbnb? It's going to sound like a lot of hassle. It's going to put them off, meaning that I've got less competition. So have you. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I wanted to just address it in this video to let you know that those are some of the things that's happening with the legislation. Please do educate yourself in property. Keep up to date with the legislation, because you can make a load of money and then potentially end up going to prison, which would suck. And the fact that they make it so easy to go to prison is just ridiculous. I might do a whole video on things you can do as a property investor that would end up sending you to prison, and I'll just tell you all the different stuff you could do that could send you to prison, because it's crazy how easy it is to go to prison when you're a business owner, an entrepreneur. I mean, geez, if you've got like a HMO and you don't have it licensed when you should have it licensed, and then they find out, they'll fine you, and then ultimately you could go to prison for that. Or if somebody dies in the property, maybe that's a little bit more reasonable, and you don't have fire doors, that could be a prison sentence. You might say, well, yeah, you should go to prison. But again, like if you're an ignorant landlord or an ignorant property investor and you just didn't know, and you just put doors that you thought looked nice and you don't know the law, ignorance is not bliss. So I would suggest that you really study this industry. There's a lot of opportunities in the market. Interest rates have dipped slightly. I think there's a bit more confidence in the market from lenders. Some bridging lenders have recently said that they're going to be loaning out 90% loan to value finance on bridging loans, which means that there's a bit of confidence in the market. So I think it's a great opportunity. You know, the market is ripe, but do it right, get educated and get around people that are doing property so you can bounce ideas off the right people. I'm going to be running a crash course, a property investors crash course next month. If you'd like to come along and join me at the Property Investors Crash Course, tickets are £1. Learn how to do it right. Get the foundations right from the beginning. Get people around you that are going to advise you to do it in the correct way. And I look forward to hopefully helping you build a property portfolio, become financially independent, and I'll see you real soon. Link in bio, get booked on. Tickets are just £1.